Good morning, and welcome to another inspiring episode of the Good Morning Minute, where we start the day with purpose, passion, and a little bit of power. I'm your host, Angelina Mojica, and today's conversation is part of our special series in partnership with the Empower Her Steps virtual conference, a movement rooted in helping women rise, heal, and walk boldly into the life God has designed for them. Our mission is simple yet powerful: empowering a life purpose, because we believe that when a woman finds clarity in her calling, everything changes for her family, her community, and generations to come. So friends, grab your coffee, take a deep breath, and get ready to be uplifted as we dive into real stories, honest lessons, and bold steps towards purpose with our incredible guest. And our guest today is Jennifer. Jennifer, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Excited to get to know you further through our conversation. But before we jump into all of that, why don't you just take a moment to introduce yourself to our listeners?
Yeah. Um, I am a mom, and I think that's the main thing that my story hinges around. That's not certainly the only thing that I do, but that was the path that I was on when I encountered my biggest challenge, which is my daughter Sarah having special needs. And at first, just not knowing what was going on and feeling like I was grappling to help her stay alive. In hindsight, I can say, oh, many people have bigger challenges, much more life-threatening. But when you're a first-time mom, a lot of things can seem really, really overwhelming. And our story was hard. She was diagnosed as failure to thrive before she was a year old, and that means that she wasn't gaining weight the way doctors wanted her to. And she was very delayed in reaching all of her milestones. But the failure to thrive was the thing that really had me, I guess, stressed out of my mind most of the time. I really didn't want a feeding tube because, in my mind, that was admitting to her having special needs. And I was still fighting that with all of my being and thinking if I just worked hard enough, then somehow a miracle would occur and no one would ever know, because I was feeling sort of personally guilty. Like I was supposed to have created a being that had no issues, that had no trouble, because it was my oven that she cooked in. So it must be my fault. And it was a long journey to come around to accepting her for who and how she was, and for me, and saying, oh, it wasn't actually anything I did. And I'm allowed to just love her for who she is. Her first few years, of course, there were many wonderful moments of love and connection. And I would stare at her and think she was the cutest baby in the world ever. And then there were the hard parts of worrying, how am I going to get her to eat enough? Or when I would see other moms, because I would hang out with a mom group once a week and their kids were doing things and mine was not. And it was like, oh no. And starting to see specialists and getting tests and having early intervention come to the house. And um, she was 3 before she started walking. So just that sort of gives you a sense of the delay we were looking at.
Yeah.
And when she was 4, she was saying the sounds to go to every alphabet letter, but she wasn't actually putting them together. And she'd been having speech therapy for a long time. And at
Mm.
that point, she was in preschool, because you have to do that when you turn 3 to continue getting early intervention services. And her teachers and her dad and I kind of thought she was maybe withdrawing from us a teeny bit in terms of her attention or her eye contact. And coupled with eating being much better than before, but still a little bit of a struggle, and the not talking, I thought, I need to do something now. I need to try something else. We're not in survival mode about her life, but I really
Mhm.
want to try something more. And I had heard about the Sunrise program when I was in college many years prior. And I decided, I think it's time. Let me learn how to do this really intensive, or it doesn't have to be intensively done, but I wanted to do it intensively,
Mm.
home therapy program that I would run following her lead and really diving into her world to give her the space to learn and grow. And I went to the Autism Treatment Center of America to learn how to run a Sunrise program, how to find volunteers, how to train volunteers, how to work with Sarah and find, like, I wasn't reading her signals, even though in hindsight, once someone tells you, like, oh, that when your kid's not looking at you, they're not necessarily available for your input. If she's opening and closing a lid repetitively, maybe she's not ready for you to teach her something.
Mhm.
Um, and so I learned how to read her signals and when to try connecting and when to not, and when to teach and when to not. And as soon as I got back from my training, her language started coming differently and more than ever before. And then I found volunteers and I set up a room in our house and I worked with her anywhere from half an hour to 4 hours a day, just me. And then the volunteers would do 1 to 2 hours a few times a week. And she just developed amazingly. It almost started being silly to tell people the new words that she said because her language was just snowballing and her eye contact improved and she learned to play games and connect with others. And that was our doorway for teaching her to use the potty and to shift her eating away from ice cream anytime because ice cream is good calories to eating healthily.
Yeah.
And she connected more with her younger sister. It was just the most incredible, life-changing thing I've ever done.
Wow. Jennifer, I want to say first and foremost, thank you so much for sharing because as mothers, we do harbor so much guilt when things aren't going the way we, want them for our children, but not only that, but when we feel like we contributed to maybe some of those delays or some of those things that they struggle with, whether it's at birth or throughout their throughout their childhood into adolescence. So I just want to say thank you so much because I think that is a much needed step for people, for women like us that have been parents, to sit there and say, yeah, I struggle with this thing with my child, and there was some guilt behind her, because we tend to be hide behind the shame sometimes and not really sharing the story. And I think it is so uplifting to be able to do that, because somebody out there could be listening and going, I'm struggling too. For sure. So I definitely see how this challenge, failure to thrive, and then the things that come after that impacted you, I'm pretty sure. So I see the purpose because you dive into this therapy idea. I mean, so much so you're immersed in it that you're helping teach others and the volunteers and things like that. Um, what helped you, like, just in that process? Because I know learning just to be a tool for your child to grow, that was you being a mother and wanting to give the best to your child. But you personally, like, what was some of the things that really helped you heal and grow as you're still trying to provide for your child and give her the best possible tools that she can have so that she can meet those milestones? What was something that you worked on just for yourself? Because I know sometimes we forget to do that.
Yeah, there's been a lot over the years, and it's ongoing to keep clearing my own emotional stuff so that I can be clean and clear and present for Sarah. I think one of the most helpful things early on was reading a book where someone said, parents of kids with special needs will go through the grieving process. And I suddenly was like, wait, what? Oh, that's what I'm doing. Oh, that's okay. Because I was feeling so judgmental of all of my feelings of fear, regret, upset, disappointment, anything, you name it. And I was feeling like, how can I be feeling this about my precious daughter? And I felt like such a horrible person. But I had to allow myself to actually have all those feelings, cry
Mhm.
them out, write them out, just sit with them. And then they, I was on the other side of them. But if I was fighting it, then I was staying in it. If I
Mhm.
kept judging myself and saying I shouldn't feel this way, then I actually continued feeling that way.
Mhm.
I'd say all along, one of the most helpful things was crying and talking to people. I cried in my kitchen alone by myself a lot, but also on the phone with my mom. She is a wonderful listener, and my husband also, and just to get out whatever had been building up about my stress. And then after a good cry, then suddenly I was like, oh, well, now I have some space to think again. And then the other part is at the Autism Treatment Center of America, they really believe that it's about the parents and the parents' beliefs and attitudes in terms of how the parent can then come to help their kid the most. Not that it's saying it's the parent's fault, but just saying, hey, if you're going around feeling like a terrible parent, you're not actually going to be a very good parent to your child as much as if you can clear those beliefs and come to see, oh, wait, I'm actually a good parent. I'm a good person. This wasn't my fault. And if I'm believing that because she can't do a puzzle today, like a simple wooden shape puzzle, if I'm
Mhm.
believing that that means she will never, ever do a puzzle or, get a job or whatever my fears would be, if I'm futurizing so much, then I'm not in the present saying, oh, if she can't get the puzzle today, that means she can't get the puzzle today. It means nothing about tomorrow. And it
Mhm.
was that kind of behavioral or attitudinal shift, belief shift in me about her language also to say, oh, just because she's 4.5 and hasn't been putting words together doesn't mean anything about tomorrow or the
Mhm.
next day. And then I stopped trying to teach her everything at once or wishing she knew everything at once or feeling so depressed that I was just shoving ice cream in my own mouth and not working with her at all.
Mhm.
And coming to say, oh, can you try putting some more sounds together? And then waiting and really believing in her and looking at her. So I think the biggest thing was just getting a lot of support from me. And that's still the case. I still talk to people to help me uncover what am I believing that is getting in my way now and what feelings have been building up maybe over the course of a week. And I
Mhm.
just need to let them all out, let myself feel really crappy as the feelings sort of purge out. And then I'll
Mhm.
feel fresh and new. And then I have space to listen to Sarah if she has feelings. And then she'll be fresh and new on the other side.
I think that's important. And a commonality among many that have been a guest on the show is the community, finding their own resources, finding your own resources that are going to help keep you inspired, motivated, and going. And then I like the rawness of I was crying in my kitchen, I was crying to my mother because we definitely have to go through it. And I think as a mother, we tend to put ourselves behind, like at the end of everything. And so that requires a lot of suppression of emotion sometimes. But the fact that you were just like, no, I was feeling it too. I was going through it. I think that's important because when we suppress, it just builds up and then we become this volcano and we never know when it's going to erupt. And when it does, it's never at the right time for sure. So I love that you're saying that. And I think it's so helpful for others that are listening to really understand that being vulnerable and asking for help and finding community doesn't mean that you're failing. It doesn't mean that you're weak. It doesn't even mean that you're a bad parent. It just means that you need to find someone that's going to help you, that it maybe gone in that direction and has is a few steps ahead of you, or even someone that's walking it. The two of you can kind of, be a peer in mentoring to each other, whatnot. So I think that's beautiful that you're saying those things.
Thank you. I would also add, in terms of the volunteers, that was awesome to ask people to help and have them come and bring their creative, loving energy to playing with Sarah. It was just the most heart-filling thing. And I kept thinking, really? You really want to be here helping? Really? But then I kept hearing from them that yes, they loved it and they were getting just as much from it, they felt, as they were putting into it. And that was hard for me to accept, even though I'd asked for the help. But um, to accept so much love coming in was amazing. But I want to put it out there for other listeners that people really do like to help other people a lot of the time. Maybe not always. I know there are other parents out there who have sometimes asked for help and been told no, and that it feels heartbreaking to me. And I feel so lucky that I found so many people who did want to help and we're still in touch with them today, even though Sarah's 18 now, and we started the program when she was 4.5. And
Mhm.
they still tell me how meaningful it was and how it changed their lives.
Mm. And that is impactful. And I mean, you're right. Not everybody's going to be willing to put themselves out there to volunteer or help. Um, but the but don't just shut down at the first no, because there's a yes behind there somewhere. You just got to be determined and willing to continue walking through that process, because then you can tap into the right resources and community for sure. Jennifer, so how has this situation and story helped shape who you are today?
I almost can't even imagine who I would be without this. And I do often think, oh, if someone could have a magic wand and say you could go back and change it and Sarah would be neurotypical and no challenges, would I take that? And I think no, I wouldn't. I want her just the way she is. And yes, we still have challenges and um, still clash with each other sometimes because we're both stubborn and determined to get our way. But it's been the most heart-opening, soul-stretching thing I've ever gone through. And I think I'm a better mother to both of my children because of it. Um, I I feel like it's really helped me look more clearly at who I am and one, become a better cook, like a more creative cook for, oh, if we can't use these ingredients, what can we do? Um, but just it's like carving out space. It almost feels like a physical thing to say, oh, I am faced with a really hard moment right now. It feels like a physical thing of going inside me to be like, oh, gotta dig deeper, gotta open my heart more. How can I do that? And I know that's not actually like my cells aren't actually moving around, but it honestly has felt that way. And the amount of love and loving, creative, wonderful people that I've encountered because of this, oh, I would not want to give that up for anything.
Hmm, that's beautiful. And so, Jennifer, what would you say to someone that is maybe in that moment where they're crying in the kitchen and they're going, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to turn. I'm in that in between phase of trying to accept things and build community or something. What would you tell that person that is just struggling?
I would say that they are so not alone, that any feeling they're having is okay and normal, no matter how awful they
Mm,
might judge that feeling to be. And that they don't have to do a big program like I did. They don't have to create a room because I saw changes just with the tiniest little bit of me interacting. So they do not have to be the perfect parent, which I have to keep learning this lesson myself again and again because I always want to be the perfect parent.
mhm.
But to say, oh, you don't have to be the perfect parent. You can lose your temper. You can totally be what you think is a terrible parent and still connect with love to your kid and make a huge difference for your kid.
That's beautiful. And I like that you're saying perfect is unrealistic and don't even try to aspire to that because that is just not something that anybody can obtain for reals. And you're just going to run into disappointment after disappointment if that is your goal. And being a parent means just getting it right today, I think, the best you can and trying again tomorrow. That's been my learning experience raising three children into adulthood. Um, and just understanding and working with other parents as well as they raise their children. It's not about perfection. It's definitely about being present, being in the moment, and just giving them you at that time, at whatever capacity that is for that day, but also remembering to take time for yourself too. So, like you highlighted in your own journey, it's important to find your resources so that you have someone that you can vent to and you can refill your cup and all those things so you can be authentic and purposeful and intentional with your child, Sarah, when she needs you. So, I love that. Um, so tell me, what does living with purpose look like for you today?
It it actually has meant that I stopped my job that I'd had for 24 years about a year and a half ago, and then I stopped teaching. I'd been a massage therapist and a teacher at a massage school, and um, I think I just got to a point of being like, well, wait a second. My kids are older and they're not going to be at home
Mm,
forever necessarily. I mean, Sarah will always need support, but I actually hope she doesn't need, I hope she doesn't live at home because I don't want it to be that she's 70 and I kick the bucket and suddenly her whole life is thrown into upheaval. I want it to be that she's in a good situation. So that if changes happen like that, that she can handle it. So it was really thinking, I went from being like, oh, can I get a break from my kids to, oh my gosh, they're going to be leaving and they're growing up and oh my gosh, I need to follow them around. So I was blessed that my husband has a job that allows for me to then be at home. And even though my kids are at school now, I feel like I'm fresh when they come home and I have better attention than when I was juggling lots of jobs myself, even though I loved those jobs. I really did. Um, but I just got to a place where I was like, well, it's time for something new. And I want time to read books and I want time to go for a walk and notice grass blowing in the breeze and really just notice what's around me instead of I was very much a go, 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 go kind of person.
mm,
and still can be, but I am aiming to allow for a little more room for everybody.
That's beautiful. Well, Jennifer, I do want to ask you one question that I ask many of my guests, and it's one of legacy and impact. If today were to be your last day, what would you want to be remembered for?
I think for the program I ran for Sarah, and I wrote a book about it called Watching Sarah Rise. And so I'm glad that even if I were to go today, that that is out in the world to hopefully help parents feel inspired and not alone.
That's awesome. If you could maybe leave a word of encouragement to someone out there listening who's still trying to figure out their life purpose, what would it be?
To listen to what your body is telling you, because sometimes my mind will think I should do certain things. Like, well,
Mm,
I shouldn't stop doing massage because I'm good at it. I can't stop doing that. But my cell, just as when I was first deciding to go to massage school, I felt like my body was like, yes, that's what I want to do. And then when it was time to be done, my body was like, yep, time to be done. And so I really needed to listen to that, no matter how much my brain was like, no, 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 you can't. No, no, no. You have to do X, Y, Z. Like, no, sometimes your body knows the answer. You just have to listen to the signals that it's giving you.
mm. Well, Jennifer, I just want to say, wow. I mean, the journey that you are on, because like you said before, it's ongoing. So healing, helping your daughter Sarah, just all of that, it's going to be just a lifelong journey for yourself. But I appreciate that you're being vulnerable and you're sharing the hard part of it, because sometimes, we get through it. And so then it's like, oh yeah, we can paint this pretty picture, but it wasn't pretty in the making for sure. Um, so if someone was listening to you, Jennifer, and they're like, you know what, I want to connect, she might be the resource that I need. How can they do so outside of this podcast?
Yeah, I would love it if people were inspired and wanted to reach out and connect. My website is watchingsarahrise.com, and I'm also on Facebook and Instagram as Jennifer Celeste Briggs author.
Wonderful. Well, Jennifer, I want to say thank you so much for sharing your heart, your story, and your light with us today. Conversations like this remind us that purpose isn't about perfection. It's about showing up, growing through the things that we go through, and trusting that every step matters. Here at the Good Morning Minute and through the Empower Her Steps movement, we believe every woman has a calling worth discovering and a voice worth using. So wherever you are today, friend, remember your purpose is powerful and you're not walking alone. So until next time, keep rising, keep trusting, keep walking boldly into the life God has designed for you. I'm Angelina Mojica, your life coach, sending you much love, much peace, many blessings.